On October 14th, Lil Baby is scheduled to drop his second studio album, Only Me, and the stakes have never been so high. Lil Baby is the hottest rapper out, not named Aubrey Graham, and anything with his name attached to it has done numbers. But with all this hype comes enormous pressure. He has to drop an album that matches these high expectations. Anything less than an instant classic will be seen as a failure. On top of these expectations, Baby finds himself in a unique situation that makes this album the most important one of his career. And in this video, I'll break down all the circumstances that will end up making this release make or break. Lil Baby released a collab album with Lil Durk in 2021, but it's been over 2 years since his last solo album, My Turn. Extended periods between albums can be good and bad. On one hand, an artist's music doesn't reach a saturated point where the fans get tired of them and stop listening, but it also puts more pressure on the artist when they do choose to drop. If NBA YoungBoy drops a mid-album, no one cares. They'll just keep listening to the one from a couple months ago and wait a couple months for the next one. But for artists who take a lot of time between albums, a mid-album can be a big setback, in some cases career-changing. Take Chance the Rapper for example. In 2016, he was one of the biggest rappers out. He had just dropped Coloring Book, and he had a hit song with no problems. He was on the top of rap. Then he decided to take a 3-year break from dropping music. His hype died down a little, but fans were still waiting. In 2019, 3 years later, he came back and dropped The Big Day, and fans hated it. It flopped miserably, selling only 27,000 units. Fans are fickle, and the combination of the gap in dropping music combined with the underwhelming Return album caused many bandwagons and casual listeners to forget about Chance altogether, leaving him to fade away from relevancy. Chance the Rapper is an extreme example of what can happen to a rapper who waits too long and doesn't deliver, but a more applicable example of what will happen to Baby if he doesn't deliver is Roddy Ricch. The whole 2019, Roddy Ricch was on a crazy run. He was on several big records, like Racks in the Middle with Nipsey and Ballin' with Mustard. He was going crazy, and then he finished the year with his debut album, Please Excuse Me for Being Antisocial, which had one of the biggest hits of the decade. Then he took a break and had fans begging for new music for 2 years. In 2021, he came back with Live Life Fast. The album was mid and fans were disappointed. Between the wait and the mediocre album, a lot of the hype and anticipation Roddy Ricch had created over 2019 and 2020 faded. He didn't fall off by any means, but he's not where he was in 2020. And he's in a situation where if his next album doesn't hit, he might be in trouble. This is where Lil Baby will most likely find himself if his album doesn't deliver. But although all of this is true, the wait between albums isn't the main reason this album is so critical. The true reason this album is so important to Lil Baby's career is the fact that he might be at the crossroads. Since he started buzzing in 2017, he's continued to grow and get better and better with each release, and now he's at a pivotal point. He's reached the very top of the game, but this could end up being the peak. Very few people have the ability to stay at the top forever, in the way Drake, Kendrick, and Cole have managed to all these years. Most peak and drop significantly. In 2017, Future was where Lil Baby is at now, but over the years his career has declined from that point. And that's not a knock to him or his music, it's just a normal progression for most rappers who reach that level of success. And if Lil Baby's album doesn't blow the fans away, it's most likely that the past 2 years will end up being his peak. But if he drops an album that meets or exceeds the enormous expectations placed on him, he has the chance to ascend even higher and reach a new level. Baby has compared himself to Wayne in the past, and this album could end up being his Carter 3. Regardless of what happens, this album is definitely the most important one Baby has dropped in his career. And when he drops, we'll find out if he's just been on a crazy run over the past couple years, or if he has a shot at becoming an international superstar and achieving Drake status.